I still don't know about the title for this one. I'm working on it. Anyway, welcome to Wednesday Night Live with Mike McWilliams, your host, tis I. And thank you so much for taking your time to watch this evening because your time is very, very important. And spending a little bit of it with me is really appreciated. So thank you so much. How's everybody doing out there? Who do we have? James in the house. Welcome, sir. Hello to you too. Ben, cheers to you too. Fantastic. Well, while I'm waiting for me more people to join in on the live stream, I will do my usual spiel about my review of things that occurred at Upstairs to the Right Music Studio this last week. Um, yeah, I have my notes here, and I think I'm going to actually reverse my notes here. I'm going to start somewhere else. Um, I have bought my first guitar that I have purchased this year. So the first guitar for 2024. Of course, for my business, as you know, I buy and sell vintage guitars from Japan primarily. Michael in the house, Mr. Watson, welcome. And so I bought my first one of the year. And I'm quite pleased with my purchase. Before I get into what it is, I think more interesting is how I found out about it. A lot of guitar shops in Japan right now are posting in relatively real time their stock. They'll take a particular guitar that they're interested in promoting and they'll put it up on YouTube. Now, of course, it's all in Japanese, including the titles. But sometimes, if you type in a particular instrument, the Japanese reviews may come up, and they are worth taking a look at. Frederick Rogers, welcome. Hi there. Ho there. You're as welcome as can be. um, and they're worth taking a look at because if you're interested in buying, importing guitars, especially vintage ones from Japan, there's outlets that are better. They're small shops. They're not the big shops. In Japan, um, Ishibashi and some of the others that I do business with. This one right here, that I got this cloth from TC Gaki. Uh, they are some of the heavy hitters in the guitar market, not just in Tokyo, but in Osaka, all the major capitals there, cities. And if you go into those shops to buy something, what you're going to find is that they have probably bought, especially not new. I'm talking about used, but especially depending upon the make and model, you'll find that they probably bought it on the secondary market themselves in Japan. There are websites like Digimart, so it's Digimart, Digimart, that you can go to and you can look for instruments and out of Japan, and they do have a service where they will ship out for you. So, but the issue is that they have a markup on them. Whereas if you go to again Ishibashi, Digimart, TC Gaki, they're going to have a markup on them. But if you can go to the secondary shops, or if you can go on YouTube and look at the small shops, because there's a lot of small guitar shops, and those are the real gems. Those are the ones that you really want to go to if you ever go to Japan on a guitar safari. You want to look for the small shops, not the big ones, because you can find some hidden gems there at a reasonable price. They don't have the markups that the bigger shops have because, quite frankly, they don't have the rent. So a lot of these small guitar shops have started to post their stuff. Well, they have been for a while, but they're really starting to accelerate, especially with sales being slow right now. We'll talk about that a little bit tonight as well on YouTube. And I saw a video from a guitar shop in Japan, a guitar that I thought to myself, hey, I want to take a look at that. I'm very interested in that. That might be something that I can. Sorry about that, guys. Didn't have my thing secure. Well, that was exciting. All right. Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. Again, I got a new light system here and it is not stable yet. Well, I know it is. I just had it not clipped on completely. So, anyway, getting back to the story. So, I saw a guitar that I thought might be great, something that I could move on very easily. And that turned out to be a Yamaha SA700 from 1978. And it is an ES335 style guitar. So, as you know, I have owned quite a few 335 style guitars. I used to play one in my live shows in Tokyo. I'd switch between the 335 depending upon the song or my Telecaster. And I owned the most recently 335 that I've owned is the Joe Bonamassa. So if you guys remember that, I bought the Joe Bonamassa kind of that year special. You know, every year Joe Bonamassa has a signature Epiphone that he comes out with, and I bought the last one, and we reviewed it on this channel. And 335 style guitar, and I like 335s. I do. They have for me. I actually find it, even though it's a bigger guitar, I find it more comfortable and it just suits me a little bit more than even a Les Paul. But I saw this 1978 ES335 on one of those small shop YouTube channels, and I bought it, and it is on its way. And I would like to take a minute if my camera is finally stabilized here. Actually, that's my first time I had something that happened during a live stream. I'll count myself lucky. I haven't had anything worse than that. um, Let me tell you something about this 335. Now, it's a Yamaha. And they were produced by Yamaha between 1977 and 1983. And they were really in my opinion, a holdover from the law. It is, in my opinion, a lawsuit guitar, um, depending upon the model that you get. The model that I bought, the SA, which stands for semi-acoustic 700, which stood for how much it cost during that time. Again, I've said before that the numbers in a lot of the Japanese guitars like SG500, SA 450, a lot of that delineates not just the model type but also the price. So in this case, this SA700 in 1978 had a value of 7 nanama yen. Uh, so that, or 70,000 yen, nanama yen, which was about $350, let's just say, at that time. And of course, if you get into 1200, for example, there's a model that's ahead of this SA. There's an SA 700, 800, 1000, and 1200. And of course, when you get to 1200, it's a Ju Nima Yin guitar. And but still, in American dollars, it still works out to around 6 or 700. And for what you're getting with these guitars, they are spot on replications of their Gibson counterparts. Again, during that period of time, these guitars were called lawsuit guitars because they really were going out of their way to copy down to the screws a lot of American guitars, Fenders and Gibsons in particular. And so they were called lawsuit guitars because they got cease and desist orders from the before mentioned companies. They let them know that this was no bueno. And then when they realized that what they were producing was better than what they were doing at a better price, a more profitable price, I might add, they got into bed with them. And that's how you start getting Epiphones, like Orville by Gibson Epiphones. And so, which were okay. So the lawsuit, in that case, actually, I would say Japan won, United States zero, in that particular lawsuit, um, because it worked out for Japan anyway. And it worked out for us because we can still, if we hunt around and know what we're looking for, find these lawsuit guitars. The materials that were made, that were used to make these guitars are again comparable to what you would find on modern day Gibson 335s, or at least the ones before they shut down the Memphis plant. And this one has a body that has that's made of beech and birch, and those are pretty typical guitar making materials for during that time. They're very resonant woods. And the fretboard is actually a rosewood. Of course, they were still using rosewood back at that time. Again, another thing that just really trips me up about the prices on some of these Epiphones is the fact that you're getting Indian laurel on that fretboard and you're not getting rosewood, and rosewood still is out there available to be had. It's not a CITES treaty issue anymore. So, but if you reach back in time and you go to these older guitars, you'll find even Squires. You'll find the older Squires that have fretboards on them, have rosewood fretboards. And so there's that. The pickups in this guitar. Now, as you guys know, before I say I saw it and I bought it, I make it sound like I'm sitting there eating popcorn and then I'm, like dialing on the phone. No, it was a little bit more involved than that, but I immediately began to research it, as I do. What's its market value? What are these guys asking? What is the market draw on it? Things like that. But even more fundamentally, what condition is it in, really? They made it easy because they produced a beautiful YouTube video on it, so I could sit there and see every crack and every crevice of it, and I was quite happy with that. That makes shopping a lot easier, by the way, too. It's another great thing about using YouTube to look for guitars because, again, they're in the case of these Japanese shops, they are featuring that guitar that they're selling, the one that you'd be asking, inquiring about, and you can pretty much will see what it is, and they play it as well, which means and they've set it up, so it's already set up out of the box. So a lot of positives there for that. I just mentioned that for those who might be interested. But Alnico 3 pickups this guitar has. And that's actually very typical of Japanese guitars. I remind you that a lot of the Aria Pro guitars had Alnico 3. As a matter of fact, the a lot of the more famous Alnico 3 pickups like these, for example, my Dry Z pickups. These are Alnico 3 pickups that are modeled after Japanese dry Z's. Again, another famous Japanese pickup. And when I saw that these pickups were the in series, then they were made just for this guitar series, just for the series. Um, I know those are good Analytical 3 pickups, and they sounded good in the demo. So there was that. Um, Color is persimmon red, so it's basically well, it's not a candy apple red. Persimmon red. It's got a little, if depending upon the light, it's got a little bit of orange in there, I suppose. Persimmon is a very popular fruit in Japan. Grows everywhere out in the countryside. If you're hungry, chances are, and you're into persimmons, you won't go hungry. Unfortunately, neither do the bears, and that leads to problems. But I digress. Persimmon red on this one, so it's basically a red 335, which is every 335 that I've ever owned has been red. It's really not by choice; it just seems to work out that way. But that's a popular color with 335s. Um, Weighs in at 4.1 kilograms, or basically just a little bit over 9 pounds. And so for a semi-acoustic guitar, that's a little weighty, but that Joe Bonamassa that I had was weighty as well. So there's that. I'm very curious. Michael Watson, they grow all over Missouri too. Oh, I didn't know that. Really? Really? I had no idea. Yeah, like it's like crazy. You go out anywhere out from Tokyo, out from Yokohama to Kamakura or any of those places, and literally there's just the walk paths up into the hills, just full of persimmon trees. But it's a pretty hefty weight at 9 pounds, but not so. Again, the Joe Bonamassa was around that weight, that weight, maybe actually a little bit more. It might have been 9.5. I have to re-examine the review we did on that and see what I said. But yeah, I'm excited. I think I can move this one on very quickly, frankly speaking, especially the price that I got it at. My biggest fear, guys, and and this is real, is as you know, I've been looking for a 335 for a while. I didn't like that Joe Bonamassa one. I didn't like the fact that they put that plate on it. Down at the bottom, it had a little engraved plate between the bridge pickup and the did that have a trim system? Yeah, the trim system on that. It's just Soul Sound or something. It's Soulville or something. It said, and I was like, and when you took it out, it left two screw holes there, and that was just a little bit much for me. And I just didn't vibe with that 335. It didn't have this feel of some of the ones I've had before, especially the ones I played live. But my fear is with this one is that I'll like it too much. I'll want to keep it. I have an eye for Japanese vintage guitars. I know what people like and what they're looking for. When I see it, I'll get it. It may not be something for me. We've certainly reviewed a lot of guitars on this channel in the past that were imports that moved through here that they were great guitars, but they just weren't for me. Like the Diamond, that Champagne Sparkle Diamond that I had. Great guitar, actually not bad sounding either. Again, just not for me. 335, a cherry red 335. Unfortunately, that's a guitar for me. And I'm hoping that I don't fall too in love with this one because then I will keep it and that will not be on program. The dealer should not get hooked on his own stash, so to speak. So I thought I would share that news with you. I'm excited for it to come in. Um, there's always the anticipation. My guy over in Japan, um, he's really gotten very good at packing stuff. Interesting enough, he never packed a guitar in his life until he started working with me. But he's pretty good. He got pretty good at it. But there's always that anticipation that it'll show up in one piece because this is a guitar that's never left Japan. It's a Japanese made issue, domestic issue guitar. And I don't want to be the guy that messes that up, especially when it's in perfect condition. No neck breaks, no cracks, no nothing. No nothing. Maybe there's a little bruising at the very top of the headstock, but that's something that can be very easily repaired. You just take a little bit of black nail polish because it's the black at the top of the headstock. Fill that in. Take a razor blade, sand that down, then start working on it with wet dry sanding, and then polish, and you'll never know it was there. So I'm going to fix that. I am aware of that. That's the only thing on that guitar, and I can fix that relatively easily. So very pleased about that, especially for a 1978. I mean, this is a 45, 46 year old guitar. And that's exciting. That's exciting. In another 5 years, it'll be true vintage. Yet another reason why, I just, it calls to me. It speaks to me. And this one, leading to the next subject, uh, was something that the reason I went ahead and bought it because the shop was actually putting it on a sale. It was a special sale they were doing on it, and I will note across the board, not just on Reverb and eBay, the usual suspects, but also on the Japanese sites that I peruse, that there are a great deal of discounts that are starting to pop up. On some of the Japanese sites, you can select for sale which ones have discounted or are on sale only to pop up in your list. And before it may have been a few, now it is quite a bit. An economic indicator, I think maybe yes. Yeah. And so the Dutch word for on sale is courting. So right now, the courting is strong. And again, for me, with something like this, I can get it at a comfortable enough price where if I have to hold on for it for a minute, it's okay because it's a quality piece. I know its value on the market. I just have to find the right buyer. And that also would extend to the person who just wants to buy something for their own personal use. That indeed, as I talked about in the past, wait till after Christmas. During Christmas time, I said, hold on to your money. Don't buy anything. I said, wait till January, February, and then you'll start to see the real sales. Don't believe the Christmas sale. I pointed out several real cases where one company ended their November Thanksgiving sale, and 3 days later, and you better get it now. This is the end of the month. We're ending the sale, and pushed their folks that they could reach out to buy. People bought it, and then 3 days later, they had their Christmas sale, and it was for 10% cheaper than the previous sale. Now, of course, a lot of companies will honor that price difference, and that's fair enough. But still, it is an indicator there. They want to close out their books for that month. Is really what that was. So I said January, February. The courting will be strong, and indeed it is, and it's again it's everywhere. It's worldwide well, at least in the parts of the world that my eye Chiron falls upon. And so keep that in mind. Most people aren't. To be frank with you, the way things are looking right now, things are slow and they're slowing down. They have the potential to slow down even more for a lot of different outside factors, as environmental factors is what they call them. And so the environment now is such that inflation is affecting just about everything, and salaries are not catching up, especially in Japan, with the cost of living, with the inflation. I pointed out to you before that this guitar that I just bought, the SA 700, had a retail price in 1978 of roughly Nanama yen, 70,000 yen. The average salaryman at that time, in 1978, salaryman is your typical office worker. You see him in the movies, the guys in the suits and the ties, and they all look the same because they have the same suit and tie on. If you guys think that's just in the movies, that's actually doesn't do real life justice. Those guys would wear that suit. I saw guys, there was snow on the ground, and they were still walking in their more. I drove to work to the train station to get on the train from my house. Uh, I saw these cats walking in the snow up to here, no coat, still wearing leather shoes in that suit and tie. And I was like, aren't they freezing? Now I know they had heat tech underneath, but still, man, they were just dedicated to that look. I went away quite impressed by that experience. And but the average salaryman at that time made 19 um, uh, basically. Let's I'll just make it this easy like that. That guitar was 7,000. Salary man was making 19,000. So that guitar represented almost very close to half of his a month's salary. And so, therefore, you get a feel for how expensive it was. It was actually not, because this is a salary man. This is a guy who's got to pay rent. He's got a wife. He's got kids. It's not like he's solo and he's got 19. No, he has to divvy that up among a lot of things. So, a guitar like this is very expensive. If you were to look at it now, it's tripled in value. But the average salary man in Japan right now, take home is around 27. So it went from 19 in 1998 to 27 in 2024. Take home. Now, the cost of that guitar, as I said, has tripled in value in that time. So, tripled in value, doubled and a half. So, you know, uh, these factors are, again, just pointing out that in Japan, I'm not talking about the United States or the UK or here in the EU, but in Japan as well, these external environmental factors, inflation and things like, and then salaries and things like that, are causing the our market, the one that we care about, to slow down. And for a lot of those guitar shops to, even with the influx of a lot of foreign visitors and a lot of guys, they all, boy, oh boy, all the I'm going to the guitar shop in Japan videos sure did pop up recently. If you guys haven't checked that out, type in that title and see what comes up. And even still with that, it's slowing down. So again, I tie these two pieces of information together to point a broader picture, paint a broader picture, uh, that the slowdown in the secondary market is ongoing. It's worldwide in its reach, and there are things coming up in terms of shipping issues that may, if you thought Epiphones were expensive now, coming down the pike here with some shipping issues and shipping costs because of international disputes, you ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing yet. The price of Epiphones could now, I could easily predict going over $2,000 when you convert them from the euro cost to US dollars. Certainly coming up here. I'm going to try to see if my guy in Utrecht has one of those more recent Epiphones. Uh, I'm drawing a blank here, guys. You have to forgive me. The one that doesn't have the drawing, the Berserker guitar, the Adam Jones guitar. Those are out now with no artwork on the back. I'm going to actually go down there this week, tomorrow or Friday, if I have time, and see if he's got one in and see if I can take a peek and strum that guitar. Because I'm very curious about it. And again, it represents a lot of money, especially in euros. And I'm actually curious to see what he's charging for it. I'll look it up and see if he has one. He usually posts that as soon as it comes in. If he does, I'm going to go down there and check it out. Maybe I'll film that. But there's that. So the used market guys, keep your eye on that. If you're interested in buying gear, uh, we're moving into that season where it would be a good time to make that move. Um, Tonight's title was the Sunset Sound break-in and other news. Um, I saw a news story today about the homeless situation in Los Angeles and how bad it's gotten. So much so that the world famous Sunset Sound is literally surrounded by a homeless encampment. And when I mean surrounded, it's on a building on the corner of Cherokee and like that. So imagine a corner. The homeless encampment, homeless tents against the wall of the building go around the corner and down on both sides of the block. And the last time I was in Los Angeles was 2019. So it's been 5 years now since I've been in the States. But I noticed then, 5 years ago, when I was going, especially up in Venice area of Los Angeles, Santa Monica, places like that, I started noticing there was a lot of homeless guys. And a lot. And I was taken aback by it. But, that seems to have gotten far, far, far worse. Places like the Third Street Promenade that I used to go to a lot, I understand now that you don't want to go down there because you can't go 5 feet without, running into some homeless crap, literally and, metaphorically. So it's shocking to see Sunset Sound. Now, I've never, I've been to Ocean's Way, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. Of course, Westlake Sound I worked at. Yap Yum Studios or Brandon's Way Studios, Babyface's studio I worked at. I never got a chance to get into Sunset Sound. I went by it quite a few times, but I never got a chance to go in there and do anything. And I knew that was Prince's place. I would even if I had gotten the opportunity to go in there, I'd have been nervous. Just knowing that it's possible that just a few doors down he could be in there working, and that you that would have been too much for me. So maybe it's best that I didn't. But to see that now, because of the homeless encampments around it, that they've gotten broken into. One of their storage sheds got broken into and some equipment got stolen. And when you say equipment got stolen at Sunset Sound, you're talking about equipment that potentially could have been used in a recording anywhere from the Doors on up to the aforementioned Prince and beyond to, Miley Cyrus. She just got a Grammy for a song that she cut there at Sunset Sound recently. And getting to that point, how many artists, and also they've had one of their they've had a fire that occurred where one of the homeless tents caught on fire and it burned the entire side of the building, threatened almost to burn Sunset Sound down. And I talked about Ocean's Way studio that closed down last year. That studio is another one that I went to. As a matter of fact, it was one of the first main studios that I ever went to. I think I was about, it had to be after college time with Jock, so, in my early 20s. And the fact that that's gone, you know, and we see this threat to Sunset Sound literally almost getting burned to the ground. How ironic would that have been if a place like Sunset Sound got burned to the ground like that because of a homeless encampment fire? The history of that place going up in flames. Not just that, but the equipment, the tapes that they keep on storage, the master tapes they keep on storage there. I mean, it's shocking to me because it points to, in my way, it's not a logical connection. I try to make logical connections between things, but in this one it is a purely emotional one. But it just points to the state of music itself in general, you know. Somebody broke in and crapped and almost burnt the place down. And just the fact that it's gotten to that point where it's gotten there, And sorry guys, I'm drinking this health drink. It's got like caraway seeds in it. Probably not a good idea to drink that when you're doing a live stream. A little too crunchy of a drink tonight. But I make that connection because, on a purely emotional level, because it hurts me. First, to see Ocean Way close last year, and then to see Sunset Sound is getting literally trashed and broken into and in danger of burning down. They petitioned the city, of course, to come in and clean up, but because of storm damage and other things that are going on because of the storms that they've had there in Southern California recently, that process is behind. And so, and again, it doesn't matter because the next day after they clean up, it'll pop right back up again. And again, on a purely emotional level, nothing logical to it, but it's the analogy again of the state of the music business. And the fact that, it's you can't clean it up. It's gotten so polluted and so dirty that there is no inflection point. There is no turning back. Um, I think if I extend this thought on to, of course, Miley Cyrus just recorded again, as I mentioned, her recent Grammy award-winning song there at Sunset Sound, and you know, it seems to me that it seems very odd to me that you could on one hand, have a girl receiving a Grammy that was recorded by top-notch engineers at a famous facility, but that facility itself is in danger of just disappearing. And so, where is the protections that can be had in LA for a place like this by the music industry if they wanted to pay enough, to help protect this place that obviously is part of their business model. So it's not like they're being philanthropists. That's always a tough word for me too. And so it is not to their detriment and to their benefit to do so. But again, they're celebrating on stage, in one place of LA where this girl recorded the song at the place that, is getting crapped in and broken into and half burned down. And, I just have a hard time, and it points to, again, a degradation. If anything like this had happened before, back even in the 80s, artists would have been let's get together to save Sunset Sound, or let's get together to save Ocean Way. Because they were cutting there, and a lot of artists that was home. Do you think Prince would have been happy to pull up to Sunset Sound one morning and slide in some homeless guy's crap? I don't think so. So it's got to be affecting their bottom end as well. It's got, and that's the other danger is it just gets too nasty and too dangerous for artists to feel comfortable going there, and that affects their bottom line, and that's the other way they could disappear. Again, I just see this neglect and this deterioration, in the music industry all the way around in a lot of different ways. And I mention it tonight and I use it as a main topic to point out that this is my own rant, by the way. This is Mike's rant. Maybe we'll call it the Wednesday rant. Yeah, it's not bad because but then I rant quite often, and I'm not limited to just Wednesdays. But yeah, we'll consider that one. This is more one of my rants where you've allowed destructive junk music, the modern day rap music, which in order to produce is an economic race to the bottom as well, because you have the ghost writers or the ghost beat producers who sometimes do or do not get paid. Well, that's the same old story, isn't it? To produce music for artists that are promoting things that are not positive in any way, shape, or form. And we think back to the PRMC, is that what it was? Where they used to put the stickers, the warning stickers on, where they were forced to, by Tipper Gore, her commission, to put labels on albums that had offensive lyrics in it. She was offended by Prince's Darling Nikki. She thought that was the most disgusting thing that she's ever heard. Well, I wonder what Tipper Gore thought if she heard, WAP. you know, I tell you what had happened. There had been hearings in Congress, and they would have taken that record label to task, and they would try to shut them down. But far have we fallen? How far have we fallen? You know. And there are teachers in some schools in some states that I read about in the states that are bringing in rappers female rappers that have really vulgar, super vulgar lyrics, and bringing them into elementary schools. junior high schools. The teachers are bringing, principals are bringing them in. Well, this is an example of a successful person. Really, is it? And what kind of messages are there? So again, tying it back into Sunset Sound, the homeless encampment, you know, the low, the low end, the the crap. Again, literally and metaphorically, and how this could happen, how this would have happened. You know, you again, I'm just not able to make the mental connection between an artist like Miley Cyrus, who just won a Grammy, and not going up on that stage and holding up that Grammy saying, "Hey, I won this because I recorded this at Sunset Sound. Did you know that right now they have a real homeless problem down there? Let's all get together and figure out some way to solve this so that we can continue to have." It almost burned down because of homeless, by the way. But, let's pool our money together as artists and see what we can do to improve security around that place, clean up the streets, maybe do a little reach out problem for the program for the homeless who are there in order to move them on someplace better. But let's do that. But she didn't say that. She didn't do any of that. Not a word of that. Silence. That's what a lot of artists would have done. Though certainly, I guess I'm old because the artists that I knew, the We Are the World generation of artists, they would have said that. They would have done that. They would have brought that up. And so this disconnect between these so-called artists. I keep going back to Prince because you can't think about Prince. You can't think about Van Halen. Van Halen 1 and 2 was recorded. Was that Rod Templeman was the producer on that? Is that correct? My memory, anyway, was recorded there. Again, like I said, the Doors. You think a lot of crap was recorded there. A lot of songs, man, and obviously still are, and still Grammy-winning songs that are still being recorded there, and yet it had the potential of being burned down a couple of months ago, a few weeks ago. So this, and again, so if the artists don't care, Ted Templeman, thank you, Ted Templeman. If the artists don't care enough to use their platform to do something about it, yet they got there because of said place. So there's a disconnect there because they obviously don't give a hoot. Ben Allmark. He's got a good book I've been meaning to read. Yeah, I'm sure there's some stories in there. I'm sure there are. And some great recording technique suggestions as well, I'm sure, if you dig deep enough. Maybe I should try to see if I can find a copy of that myself. Um, I'm discouraged by that because again I look at that and I look at that and I come to my what the hell kind of thing. Like Donna Pinciotti from that '70s show, she used to say what the hell, and in my mind I got a little Donna saying what the hell because again this disconnect now. And allowing for a place like Ocean Way, again, another famous studio that a lot of people recorded at, worked at, including myself, to get shut down. Where was we got to keep this, this open. We've got to keep this going. And so there's no, and I talked about rap because, I kind of got on a tangent there, but I mentioned rap because of the budgets involved. Again, it's a race to the bottom economically. The budgets for these beat guys, they don't get paid. The record company pays $50,000, to a relatively first signed, not big hot artist, up to maybe 200,000 for a mid to upper tier, no more than that for the entire record. And again, there's so many hands in that. It's like an octopus. And so grabbing at that money. So the budgets went down. You know, budgets on albums used to be 500,000, 700,000 in some cases they could get up to. But they recouped that easily. The rap stuff, they're spending small money on the budgets on them. Therefore, the big studios are getting cut out of the equation because they're not going to bill at 2,000 an hour. You know, nobody's going to do that on those kind of budgets. And so again, rap played a big role in the prevalencer, and I bring up rap because it was at during not anymore, it's fallen off, but it was the prevalent music genre for over a decade there, and that had effects. Again, when you're looking at a race to the bottom when it came to the budgets on these albums, and how they were made in the way that they used to be made. So again, you know, I'm not, and you say to yourself, "Well, Mike, why are you blaming rap?" I mean, that's what the labels were willing to pay for those because that's the value that they thought was in there to produce that kind. In other words, that's what how much it would take to produce a record like that. For God's sake, you're not doing, you know, Stravinsky with a full orchestra recording, you know, at the house that Nat built, but Capitol Records. But the truth of the matter is, they're putting those low budgets in because in order to increase their bottom end. They found that they could make these inexpensive rap albums and make more money than investing what would at one point be considered to be a fair amount of money, maybe in some cases a little extravagant, but mostly a fair amount of money in order to produce a decent record. And that cut into their bottom end. See, they were always taking from you, but when you start cutting into their bottom, you know, it's just again, it's the race to the bottom. And of course, the reason I mentioned rap is because it gave a lot of guys an opportunity to make more money for a lot less investment. Simple business. Simple business. And did the donkey come before the horse? In that case, did one make one? Did rap? Yeah, anyway, you get my point. And so, really, the Sunset Sound break in is much like the music business in itself. It got broken into. There's thieves in the temple, speaking of Prince. There, I could sneak a Prince song in there. There are thieves in the temple. And there's homeless in the temple. And if this continues, you know, somebody will say to you, well, you can produce a quality record. I can produce a quality record here at home. I have. I've got records that I produced at home, mostly at home. If I had the option of working in a Sunset Sound, I would take that, of course, over working at home. Who wouldn't? Because the quality would be just that much more. You're not going to get the quality of recordings because of the acoustics, because of the equipment. For a lot of reasons, those studios are the epitome of recording because that's exactly what they were designed to be. Joe's Basement recording studio was not originally designed from the ground floor up. It was designed from the ground floor up to be a house, and it just so happened that there was a room that worked out to be the studio. It wasn't the other way. Again, the cart before the horse kind of thing. So it's just like I said. This Degradation in music. I guess to sum all this up. Well, what's the sum of this, Mike? I guess I'm saying is this degradation in music. It stands out in a lot of different ways, even to the material, where you have a homeless encampment surrounding the world famous Sunset Sound that endangers is daily, right now as we're talking, as we are speaking. That's what you would find if you got on a plane, or if you're in LA, got in a car and you drove up there. This is what you would see, exactly what I'm describing. Daily under the threat of there could be another fire, and who knows who could use it as an excuse to purposely cause a fire. You know, so this degradation, and it makes me sad. Of course, I'm sad being growing up in LA. I'm sad that that particular part, doesn't surprise me, but it's just gotten this bad that's happening in the first place. And in the second place, just from the time that I was 16, getting introduced into the studio system, uh, and then after college, really getting into the studio system, to see that studio system that I worked so hard and I love so much. Talk about love what you're doing. You put me in a room with an SSL board, I won't leave. I'll put a little bed on the floor. I'll sleep next to it because I love studio rooms. I love a real studio room. I really do. I love them. I miss it. Uh, but, you know, to see that I invested into learning, working through, and that system to the point where it's degraded, it's degenerated, excuse me, degenerated to this point. Tommy Mac. Well, happy Valentine's Day to you. Where's my chocolate? you know, a man needs his chocolates. Wait a minute. Yeah, it just makes me sad. It makes me sad. And so this rant tonight is really from that. It comes from that. It's just I look at the again. I look at things from 30,000 feet. Or at least I try to. You know, I used to, well, still do, but not as much as I used to when I was flying 30,000 feet above the ground and looking out the window, airplane window. I always thought to myself, you should try to look at your situation and problems or things like this. Try to get the whole scope. When you're down on the ground, it's the force for the trees. And looking at this from 30,000 feet and seeing the whole picture, all these different parts that I talk about and I mentioned during these live streams, it's just sad. It's really sad for me. And so, you know, it's a dog eat dog world, I know, and it's every man for themselves. But yeah, this would be a criticism of Miley Cyrus in this case, really. You know, I know she's got to get her own and do her own thing out there, but if I just won an award and I thought to myself, man, I recorded this at that studio and that studio is in danger, maybe to do something and show my appreciation, I might bring this up in front of my audience, of my ever shrinking audience. Because the Grammy Awards show, the viewership is just getting small because people don't want to watch that crap. And mention the fact and get all my famous friends here to try to do something to make it happen. Certainly, even just mentioning it, the mayor of LA is going to be on the phone saying, hey, send a cleanup crew down there right now, because he knows that every newscaster in the world is going to be jumping in the van, running down there to take footage of it. This is what Miley was talking about. You see what I mean? So But no, that didn't happen again for reasons, I'm sure. But none of them have to do with showing any kind of appreciation. And that's my point. So, a tale was that Rod Sterling on the Twilight Zone used to say a tale of warning. Red skies at night kind of thing, so to speak. Although I think it's too late. The storm's already done hit and washed it all away. But what a great thing it was while it lasted. Unfortunately, it seems as if people are not interested in protecting it. So the dying off of recording studios is going to continue one way or either. They're either closed down because nobody's cutting there anymore because the budgets are so small, or they'll burn to the ground. And that's about it. The whole recording thing, again, like I said, as a metaphor, it's lovely because I just look at that whole business as burning to the ground. You know, what is that? The John Mayer wrote, "Slow dancing in a burning room." That's what we're doing. That's exactly what it feels like to me. Now, I mentioned that I was expecting those earplugs to come in, just as a review. A company that makes earplugs to protect musicians and other people. A lot of applications that they work for. But they're sending them to me. I didn't pay for them, so it's something I will promote as a free promotion, not as a paid promotion. But they have not showed up yet. I'm still waiting for those. So when those do come in, I will film that. It'll be several weeks before the SA700, the Yamaha, comes from Japan to here. It's got to get to my guy. He's got to pack it. It's got to get to UPS shipping, and then it's got to take its journey here. So I'm hoping to get it here in time for the Vinendal Vintage Guitar Show, which is where I really would like to present it at. I'm going to clean it up and take it down there for display by the end of March, or the 21st of March. So I hope that my cat's hungry. He's letting me know. Sorry, guys. I've been demanded to get a midnight snack. But I hope to do that. But in the meantime, a couple of things coming up. The earplugs, I hope to film this Friday. I hope they're in by tomorrow, Friday. I'll film that, so you have that to look forward to. I'm going to do part two of my Fender Champ amp speaker swap that I did. Part one is doing well on my channel in terms of response and views and things of that. And I've been requested to do a part two of that to show a few months later how is that working out. And so that's another thing that I have to definitely do. So one or the two of those I will get into this week. So you have that looking for before Sunday at Mike's this Sunday, which we will be doing as usual, 11 p.m. Sunday night. So that's what's coming up on the roster, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. A very mellow, laid-back show. Not a lot of people watching tonight, but that's okay. I know a lot of folks will catch this in the rerun, and I do appreciate that. For the few of you that did show up this evening for the live stream, I want to let you know I thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my rant this evening. And news, I will leave out on a positive note. The news on that Yamaha, that vintage Yamaha coming in. I'm really excited about it. I really hope that I don't like it. Well, before my cat gets too mad, I better get out here and feed him. So I will say, Oyasaminasai to some of you. Good morning to some of you. Good afternoon to other. My cat's all ears to the speakers hearing your cat. Yeah, he doesn't need the speaker to hear my cat. He just has to put his ear up against the door. This guy is loud, but that's all right. I'll give him his snack. Yeah, that's it for guys. That's it. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for showing up. I really do appreciate the ones that did make the time to show up live tonight. It means a lot to me that you took the time to do so. Really, really does. And I hope you enjoyed tonight's topics, and I will see you guys on the next one. Night.